Welcome to Beast TV. What was that? You better get a fresh dip and buckle up.
Larry Porch, how you doing tonight?
Man, I'm doing good. I had my ego stroke today, Mark. I was at
Your
work.
egos.
Yeah, I was at work, and I had two women latch on to me and wouldn't let me go. They wanted me to go eat with them and hang around with them. They were both
Really?
they were both 70 and in Alzheimer's home.
Yeah.
The poor nurse had to pry their hand off of me.
Gotta love that blue hair.
Well, you know, at least somebody loves me.
Yeah. Well, when you got it, Larry.
That's a bad situation to be in because I'm a nice guy, and I just stood there. I wasn't about to be mean to them, and,
or take their hands off you.
Yeah, I let the nurse do that.
The authorities didn't get involved, did they?
That's why I didn't do nothing. I just stood there. But they were still spunky, though. They had Elvis playing off the radio or whatever, and she wanted me to dance with her.
Uh-oh. What's that Elvis song that you sing so good?
None of them. But I know what you're talking about. Good times.
Good
times.
Great. Well, we want to welcome everyone that is in chat tonight. We've got right at almost 100 people so far, and that's stroking my ego that we've got so many people that want to listen to a couple of knuckleheads, and it's probably our guest, the reason why that they're in there. So
most likely.
So we just want to welcome everybody and thank y'all for tuning in tonight. And what a great show it is, especially when we have on a friend that we have known for years, and to be able to talk about different experiences that we have had out in the woods and good times. And really, for me, the best of all is just the campfire time. And so it's going to be a lot of fun tonight. And so we want to welcome everyone. So, Larry, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest?
Well, tonight's guest has been with us everywhere from Land Between the Lakes to Sulphur Springs, Texas, to all over Mississippi. And he still hangs around with us for some reason. But our guest tonight is Mr. Barry Browning.
How you doing tonight, Barry?
I'm good. How is everybody?
He's doing good. He hung up. Oh, there he is.
Barry,
I can't say I don't want to hang up. No, I'm just kidding.
Barry, before we get started, for those that haven't met you personally, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, 53 years young. Hurts to say that. The more I have to say it. lived in Mississippi most of my whole life. I was in Alabama, North Alabama, and North Georgia for 12 to 14 years. Back to Mississippi probably 7, 8 years ago. I'm guessing off the top of my head at the moment. Always worked in transportation, management and sales, and usually for trucking companies. Kind of got out of all that and got into doing something a little different. I'm actually restoring kitchens at the moment, remodeling kitchens at the moment. But that's about the gist of it.
Well, what event set off your interest in the Bigfoot subject?
Yeah, I feel blessed in this aspect of it, is that it was talked about when I was a kid. I had 2 grandmothers that both talked about them, one in Monroe County, Mississippi, one in Neshoba County. And they both mentioned them, as we were growing up. I didn't per se see anything, hear anything that I know of or can remember, but they both talked about them. One in particular, one in Monroe County, it seemed to be almost, every time or every other time we were there, it seemed like something was being mentioned about them. As far as playing, they farmed, and the wood lines next to the fields were off limits, far away from the house. She was always getting on to us, about that. But that really, of course, that sparked the interest. And then, just growing up and seeing all the things on TV, Patterson Gimlin, I could not tell you when I saw that particular film. I've said it before. I don't understand why we're still arguing about it, but actually Boggy Creek, a lot of folks go to Boggy Creek. I didn't see Boggy Creek probably till 3 or 4 years ago. Just never had the opportunity to. I'm assuming, just looking back on it. But that was that mixed with, all your TV shows came. I quit watching TV probably 10 to 12 years ago, so 8 years ago. So a lot of it's kind of, a lot of the newer stuff that's come out I haven't seen, but I caught the first few years of not finding Bigfoot, and the other little shows that would come on, which just always sparked it. And I've always been just interested in anything mysterious, something unknown. I don't know how you can't be interested in things like that, especially when it's right around you. And as close as it, and as many experiences now that I've had with these things, the interest just continued to grow. I really didn't get into it much when I was in Alabama and Georgia. That was probably the beginning of the internet, or really being able to dive into the internet on them. I can remember just spending hours just watching, listening. And I remember specifically the Sierra Sounds. When I heard the Sierra Sounds, I was hooked. It was on then, so to speak. And then over the years, I just gradually tried to, it's one of those hobbies that, a lot of hobbies, folks have, you can't just get in, over a period of time, you can't really dive off into it, and you start experiencing it with the same people that you're originally watching and listening to when you first start. So one thing, about this is that you can do that. And I tried my best to take advantage of it every time, every opportunity I had. I've been blessed to meet a lot of people, a lot of good people, a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge. And I'll always be thankful for that.
Barry, you said that your grandmothers always told you about it. Is there any significant story you remember them telling you?
No, I do have. I've got a couple. It's kind of funny after and I'm sure we'll talk about it later. The expedition with Carrie. I came home and I was talking to my mom about it sometime after we got back, and just out of the blue, here come two stories that and I know I probably just was dumbfounded. Probably could have just knocked me over with a feather because I was just sitting there, in my brain thinking as many times as I've talked about this. Brought it up, felt stupid for bringing it up, and so forth. How in the world are there two stories out there that I'm just now hearing about? I mean, literally within the last month and a half. But my dad and a bunch of friends of his were fishing. I actually told it. I asked my mom again today about it, and I actually told it wrong the last time. I just found out about it the last time I told about it. But they were actually fishing. And they kept hearing screams off in the distance, getting closer and closer, until it was right up on them, and started, basically shaking the ground. The screams were shaking the ground. They're night fishing, and they probably did what I would have probably done if I was, that age, night fishing. They just got out of there as quick as possible. They ran. My grandmother had a sighting, and I'm sure she had many more than this, but the one that we know of is a small juvenile. Well, I don't even know if it would be classified as a juvenile. A little smaller than a juvenile, was actually out in the side of a field, right outside the wood line, and just didn't see her. She saw it first, and was able to watch it for a few seconds and watched it just. I don't think there was anything planted at the time, so it was just kind of. Just looking around from what I was told, and as soon as it noticed her, it scampered off back into the wood line.
Yeah.
But those were two stories that came out really in the last month. It was kind of amazing just to all the time, all the times it could have been told, but I'm glad it was told when it was. And it's probably something she may have, just not have remembered at the time, the times that we were talk about it in the past. But I'm glad she did remember. I'm glad she did tell me. I spent a lot of time on that land. It was a creepy place. But like I said, I'm glad she did remember. Rather get them now than not get them at all.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I wished I could go back and talk to my granddad about it because he grew up in a fertile area for boogers, and I'm sure he probably had some type of activity that happened that he couldn't explain. But going back to when we first met you, it was an outing that Bear put together for Mississippi people. And why don't you just tell us of your perspective as far as me and Larry and the outing as a whole and the people that you met?
Looking back on that outing, there were so many, you and Larry and Dan and Vicky, Cam, there were so many people there, so many outlaws, so many other folks that are into the subject now that were really just, sticking their toe in the water, so to speak, at the time. But excellent. I'll never forget the area. I keep saying, and I hope to do this soon. I would love for us to go back up there around that area, but I'll just go ahead and say the county. It was Carroll County, Mississippi. And that is one of the most sparsely populated. Mississippi really has about the population of Atlanta spread out through the whole state. So there's some, as everybody knows, there's some areas that there's just not a lot of people, and that was one of them. It was a great area. I call it a sighting. Pulling in I actually was pulling into camp, past the road I was supposed to turn on. Oh crap, out in the middle of the country. Well, I just, I did, what I normally would do. I just, spun my truck around. Actually, I probably wouldn't have spun around that fast normally, but for some reason I did. I just ducked it off on the side, pretty flat area right there. Just spun the truck around, not too fast, but faster than normal. And I catch something coming out of the wood line on my right, probably 100, 120 yards away. Blonde in color, not brown, not Darius Brown, anything, blonde, and it was huge. And it runs across the road. I don't catch it to the wood line until it's going into the wood line on the left side of the road. Also keep in mind, right as I had passed, and what actually took my attention away from pulling in this road was that I had just passed a tree break that wasn't your normal tree break. It was probably 4 foot off the ground, 3.5 foot off the ground, but the tree was 1.5 foot wide. It was huge. I just passed it, and that's actually why I missed the road now that I'm thinking about it. And as I get down and pull, it's a truck, I get back down there to the turn-in, which is on the right, a little bit past where I saw this. I look over, and right where it ran the wood line just happened to be right there where that huge tree was broken, and laid over. I don't know what broke it. I'm not saying. I have no idea how it broke. It was just all the sign that I saw coming. I mean, you can't pull through Carroll County, Mississippi, and not see Bigfoot sign. You can't hide it. It's everywhere. And it's a lot. I mean, in Mississippi. That's why I spoke about the differences between here and Florida before. But here, you're gonna see in the fall time of the year, you're gonna see a lot. It's just hard not to just see things and pass them and just in your mind go, how in the heck did that happen naturally? I've pulled over hundreds of times just to look at things. But back to the outing. Sorry about that. I loved it. It was put the way it was put on everybody that was there. Everybody, we all say it. People in the chat say it. People that come on here say it. They all talk about how this group, Beasties, is just a great group of people. And there was a lot of that was there at that camp out. I saw that back then. There was just a lot of good people that's really just looking to learn about the subject. Like the area was wonderful. We had some terrific night rendezvous out learning different things. Bear was very giving in the information and the things that he shared with us that weekend. I'll forever be grateful for that. But it was if you're into Bigfoot, and I'll put it this way, and I'll shut up about it. If you're into Bigfooting, it was the perfect weekend. You couldn't have got anything better. If you took what I saw run in front of my truck away from it, still you couldn't get any better. It was a great time. I encourage everybody, if you're somebody that's just hasn't been into the subject, hasn't done much, but you want to get out there and do it. You will have. I mean, from my experiences, you will not be sorry that you did.
I tell you, you mentioned Vicky Fulcher's name, and that lady just loves you, and cannot say enough good things and want to get you involved in going out. And I can't even count all of the places that we have been together, because Barry is one of these people that you tell them, hey, we're camping out, and it could be anywhere. It could be in any state. And you can count on Barry driving up from southern Mississippi and showing up. And I've always appreciated that about you, that you're willing to come up and to be a team player and work with who's ever there. It kind of reminds me of when Larry and I took Miss Vicky down to Texas, and you came down there with us and camped out. And I've got a little video that I would like to play for us, and just to kind of set it up.
Oh my goodness.
This
is making me nervous.
Thank you for saying that,
Larry. Well, just let me say this. I can look at Larry and know what he's thinking, and he can look at me and know what I'm thinking, and we don't even have to say nothing, and we just start playing off one another. But we went to investigate a spot where maybe 15 years ago an aggressive Bigfoot encounter happened, where one of the individuals was actually swung at as he was leaping into a truck. And we went down and we were working this area, and we found all kind of signs everywhere we went down there. We found signs, and when we were getting close to leaving, then I kind of was messing with Barry a little bit, so I'll just play that clip right now.
You know what I think?
It's all about it. What do you think, Mark?
Got that spare hammock in the deep. I think we ought to put Barry in here tonight.
And give him the flare and see, come
Yeah.
back in the morning and get him.
Come back and get him.
Yeah,
I guess I might go to Jackson.
Huh?
You gotta go home.
I might.
You gotta go to work tomorrow.
I'm just kidding with you, Barry.
Oh, I know that.
But we got a good reaction out of it.
Barry was going home.
I knew, I knew that y'all weren't being, I'm just gonna be honest. I'm not saying anything, but there wasn't enough guys there to make me camp there at night. I'm not saying it.
Man, I had my all-in poker face on right there.
So I decided I'd play along a little bit. So, but little did I know I'd ever see it again.
And just one thing that I want to point out, that Debbie Jones. Now that Debbie Jones smelt that blood in the water, and she jumped right in there.
You're right about it. You're right about it. Larry has rubbed off on her entirely too much.
Yeah.
When I first met Debbie, she wouldn't even know there was blood in the water.
Oh man, that was good though.
Yeah,
but I tell you, if you wanted to hammock camp at a creepy place, that would have been the place.
Yeah, because there's been ghost sightings there, Dog Man, Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not been many places that I've been to where the hair stood up on the back of my neck, but we went to that area. We went back there that night, and everything, I'm just normal, everything's normal. And all of a sudden the hair stood up on the back of my neck, and I looked over at Miss Vicky, and she said, "I'm getting in the truck." And I could tell she was feeling the same thing that I was.
Yeah.
And because we were hearing stuff, and it was pretty creepy.
Yeah, that's one of the creepiest places I've been to, but I loved it.
Is that the one where when we pulled up, there was a guy walking towards the car?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I mean, everything it's everything we saw in the daytime mixed in with, we pull up and there's this guy in the middle of the woods. We, make this round this bend, and he's just sitting there. There's a car up there, but he's walking back towards us, waving his arm, and it's like, a horror movie could start this way, y'all. It really could.
You ain't lying.
I
don't
was
even remember how we got away. How I think we ended up leaving and coming back, and there was nobody there. It was a creepy area. I didn't feel it like I feel a lot of things, a lot of places. I didn't feel that. That was something that always that surprised me. I didn't feel like y'all did, but that place, they got to some folks that night.
That guy started walking up, and Lauren was driving, and she said, I'm going to turn around. Larry was behind us and it already turned around. And she says, I'm going to turn around because it was a dead end road. And so she goes to turn around and gets stuck. And she finally rocks her way out of it. And this guy's getting close. And all I had was a knife on me. And while we were stuck, I said, I'm going to get out, and I'm going to and meet him. If something goes down, just get this truck out and push the accelerator to the firewall. Don't worry about me. If I can't run and jump in the back of the truck, then just keep going. But that was a creepy place out in the middle of nowhere.
The ride home, I think the first 3 hours, I saw 2 cars. I'm not joking. It's a 2-lane highway coming from. I think I saw 2 cars in the first 3 hours. Passed them. They weren't on my theft. I just passed them. It's like, wow. That's when deep in the part of East Texas.
There's a song like that.
we need to go back. That's another place. There's a lot of places I've got on the list and need to go back to. But a lot of places we got on the list I haven't been yet. So just we're just gonna get to what all we can. Have fun doing it. But one thing I did want to say, just saying, you mentioned Miss Vicky. I gotta say this about Miss Vicky. Not that I'm any blessing to this subject or anything such as that, but if it was not for that lady right there, I probably wouldn't even be doing this. I know I wouldn't be. So I'll leave it. I'm just gonna leave it there. So if y'all know how deep in my heart Miss Vicky goes, she goes a long way. That first outing, actually, I thought about it after the fact. Everybody went somewhere one of the days that we were there. I was tired. I can't sleep at outings most of the time. I've gotten to where I can get 3 or 4 hours a night. But at first I couldn't sleep for anything. I was just too excited. But I thought I was gonna get some sleep and wasn't gonna be anybody there, so I'm in my truck. May have even dozed off, but I kept hearing something, nothing. It's daytime, but I'm just kind of curious what it was. I look over and Vicky was sitting at the table. I know who she was, of course, from There's Not an Outlaw podcast I haven't listened to multiple times, I'm sure, every one of them. But of course, I knew who she was, but I didn't, haven't. The first time I ever met her, first weekend, we sat there for the better part. It may have been over 3 hours. And just talked. And I've been close to Miss Vicky ever since. That's it. She's Dan too. Both of them, they're special people. So just some of the fringe benefits that come with looking into this subject is meeting people such as them. And y'all too. And there's I mean, I wouldn't even try to name them because I know I would leave out too many. But definitely was very thankful that at that point in time in my life, Vicky came into it. She's a special person, great lady.
Yeah, definitely.
That's pretty much how Larry and I, when we first met Dan and Vicky, it was just we just gravitated towards both of them. They're just such good people. And even if Bigfoot wasn't involved in any of this subject, we would still be going out to eat with them and hanging out with them. I hate that so many people have not had that opportunity, to share a campfire with them and just see what good, honest, wholesome people they are.
Very true.
Larry,
What I do?
well, really, I guess I'm thinking about Barry. And Barry works in South Mississippi. And he has become very good at finding signs in the woods and knowing where to go into the woods at. Can you elaborate to us, Barry, about how you go about looking where there could be some possible activity?
It's just going to sound so simple and so easy. When I first started, and for the longest time, I didn't necessarily follow this route, but this rule. But if you go in Mississippi, if you go anywhere that a government agency has some land set aside for anything, state park, national forest, you'll run up on some experimental forest in Mississippi, as I have. Whatever that is, I still haven't figured out what an experimental forest is, but they're there. But diving off further into it, the creekways and the riverways are the primary really to start looking. And we're fortunate in Mississippi, to have some a fairly decent amount of rivers that flow through, and a lot of them are in some very desolate areas. Or around, if it's not just plain just timber all around it, you may have some farmland, and so forth. I've looked on a lot around the Big Black River, which is just north of me here. I think it's 300 plus miles long. There doesn't have a dam on it, and I'm gonna be honest with you, not a whole lot of there's roads that cross it, of course, but not. I was amazed that there wasn't more than there is. Put it that way. A lot of times you really got to go out of your way to get to the other side. Which I was finding a lot of good things on one side of it, and then get to the other side that's really away from humanity. And it, things just didn't disappoint there either. But really the riverways. I can't, I couldn't just sit here and say that every national park, every, piece of government land set aside has, them on it. But if you're living off nothing but gambling on that, I'm gonna probably come out on the plus end of that. I'll probably retire pretty quick. Because everywhere I go, Mississippi, other states, and even only, also thinking about it, only seems natural that they would over time, if they weren't there to begin with, that they would over time migrate to those areas, away from humanity, or right there on the outskirts. Although, they're right up on us in areas. I think a lot of people would really be amazed at how close they get to us. but as far as looking for them, and the sign is it's everything that you see everybody else talk about. Tree bows, that are anchored in the ground. Tree limbs that are wedged in between, 5, 6 trees, just weave through the tree. Just look for any, as far as sign goes, just anything that you just can't explain normally. Sometimes you'll probably write off a lot of good evidence by saying, it probably could be done, even though there's just a small percentage of a chance that it could be, but it's probably best to do that anyway. But if you've listened to any, and I'm sure everybody that's listened to this, that they've listened to podcasts, they know that as far as the tree signs to look for. And I found, anywhere I've gone in the South, it was other than Florida, South Florida, it was pretty much the same as far as the sign. It's the same signs here as in East Texas, is in land up between the lakes, so forth. A lot of areas it seems that there's more of it, or it's more in your face, so to speak. But really, if you stay to your creekways and your riverways, in public land, or land that you can get access to, hiking, camping, whatever, those are going to be your best areas, in the South at least. I couldn't, I'm sure that starts. I would imagine the riverways and creekways pertains around the whole country, but different things are going to change, of course, in different parts. Bigfoot in here is going to be a lot different than Bigfoot in South Florida, which is going to be a lot different than Bigfoot in Montana. It's you're going to have to get in there and just figure things out. But usually, or I think, you just listen. There's so much info out there now on YouTube, on the internet. When I first started listening to things, there wasn't a handful of outlaws were out there. There's a few other shows that aren't even around anymore, that were out there. I remember when West came out with Sasquatch Chronicles. I remember when it came out, started over, everything. I listened to West for years, but as time goes on, you have to get away from a few different things, because as far as listening to, because nowadays there's just so much of it. But the information is out there. Then the biggest obstacle people run into is just getting out and doing it. And I understand it's having the time, having everything else that comes with it to do it, is a lot. It's taken a lot for me to, every time I've ever asked to go camping, to show up. I've had to jump through some hoops a couple of times, but anytime you can have any kind of get with anybody on any outing such as that, no matter how big, how small, if they've been doing it for any length of time, you're going to learn some things from them.
I see Hilton asked a question, and he said, Mark, who do you like the most out of Larry and Barry? And I'm going to change that word to what do you like the most out of Larry and Barry? And it's their sense of humor and the fun that we have when we're out in the woods. And Barry, I'd like for you to tell us the story of when we had the meet and greet and we did the night hike, and Debbie Jones took point on the night hike, and CD Squatcher was behind her. And I think it was just Rodney and Karen Beasley behind them. And then me and you were walking side by side right behind Rodney and Karen. And you did something that just kind of freaked Karen out, because it was Karen's first night hike. It was the very first time she had done a Bigfoot camp out. And this road is pretty spooky. And it's just a little small gravel road. And we were pretty far down it. We were well away from where the camp was. It wasn't no just turning around and running. I don't think you'd have that much adrenaline to be able to make it back to camp before you did what you did behind Karen. And so why don't you just do that for us and give us the story on it?
I mean, every time I tell this, I get more afraid of Karen. That's all I'm gonna say. Mark said that we're going down the road, and I just from time to time I would just do this. It came out last time what movie it was from, and I can't remember, but it's that get out. And I have done that. I don't know if I'm assuming that y'all could hear that over the microphone, but it's just that ever so like get out. And I'll just do it from time to time. It's kind of like Rick, Dan loves to, middle of just everybody's senses on the edge and everything. Dan, all of a sudden, we're all gonna die. It's kind of like it's comparable to that for Dan. Dan does that. I do the get out. But I did that get out, and man, I ain't seen a head snap around. I thought that movie where the old horror movie where the little kid head snaps around and she throws up that green pea soup. That's about how fast her head is. And she let me know real quick that I was to not do that anymore. It was not okay to do that. I shouldn't have done that. I wanted life to go on as it was going to go. Happy and go lucky, I would probably be best not to do that the rest of the trip. I obliged. Very, 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 very happily obliged. The times before I've told you, I hate I did it. Kinda. It was funny. It was funny. So I won't hate it all the way, but I hated it. It was her first time. I didn't know that. And that's all on me. It's my fault. I should have made sure. Y'all think I'm kidding when I say that Mark and Larry taught me a long time ago about horse playing on Bigfoot outings. Which they were right about. And I may say something about that in a minute, but I did it. She didn't react that well to it. And I don't think that, even after the fact that she got any humor out of it, I don't think she probably gets any humor to this day out of it. I don't, so I don't think I apologized to her last time. I will say I'm sorry, Karen. It was hilarious, but it wouldn't have happened if I'd have known all the things that I probably should have known. But, it's just one of the things that happened that, that was one thing I noticed about in Florida. We were, we're liable to laugh at some pretty insane times. We really are. Maybe sometimes that you wouldn't think you would laugh, and I can't say that 5 years ago I would do that. But now, I can, laugh a little bit while we're out there in the midst of anything that might be going on. I'm thankful Rodney didn't beat me over the head or body slam me that night. All that good stuff. Rodney's a big fella. I'm not a small guy, but Rodney's a big guy. He could probably body slam me. But it was a good time. I hate that it scared me like that. But
Bradley Hatcher just texted me and told me it was from Halloween. That's where the get
Bradley drawn. It's from Friday the 13th.
Oh,
Jason Voorhees.
So welcome to the club, Bradley. How does it feel to be corrected by Larry Porst?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm kind of Friday the 13th. Jason Voorhees is my favorite. So
Let me ask you all something. Who special texts somebody some information on a podcast that's wrong?
Yeah. What's up with that? He must be on them painkillers from that surgery. What do you think?
Well, Bradley just texted me just now and said no.
Well, he's wrong. He better go watch some horror movies while he's like that.
I may do it next time we're all around and Brad, I may just wear a cam and just record everything.
What'd you cut Barry off for?
I didn't.
Oh,
He's back on.
You know how he is.
right. Yeah,
But
I know. I'm trying to get rid of you.
We want to thank David and Dee Dee Blaylock for showing us a little love. And
we want to thank Shelly for getting that PayPal up there so YouTube made $15 off of it. Good job, Shelly.
I could say some of that. I'm not
our friend Kat from Paranormal Heart podcast ask a question, and if you have not checked out her podcast, you should. She has a fantastic podcast. Larry and I have both been on her show, and she asked, has Barry encountered anything else in the bush like Dogman or man dogs?
Keep it G-rated though, Barry.
Yes, sir. Wow, that just totally just blew right through. That just wiped out everything I was thinking when he said that. But no, I haven't. That I'm fully aware of. I had a picture one time that I don't have anymore that of some kudzu. There's a whole hill of kudzu in Southwest Mississippi that had two things that had dog-like ears that were there, but it's one of those that I wouldn't. It's just one of those what if you just really don't know. I haven't had any. I'm fully. I've looked into. I'm trying to think the right way to say it. I've looked into the subject. I think if you look into Bigfoot, you're crazy not to look into Dogman because. I mean, you can turn around any time anywhere that we're at. And I would like to know about them and know something if I turn around and see one, because we're right in the area where they are. But no, I haven't. I haven't per se had anything that I actually thought was a Dogman. We had our deals with the orbs, the lights, whatever word you want to use to describe them when we were in Florida. That was just a mind blower. I had seen lights a couple times, but more up in the sky, not in the wood line, not in the middle of nowhere. But that was a definite eye opener. The orbs were. It's like we saw them. We didn't get them on camera, didn't get them videoed, and it's like every day I would go back report to Carrie, and every day I'd get my marching orders to turn around, right back around soldier, and go out there and you get them lights on video. And I don't say that trying to slight Carrie at all. Yes, sir. And that's what we did. I don't know why we got them, and why they all, because the first night we tried, they would not, anything we pulled out to record with, they retreated back into the woods. But luckily we were able, to get them on cameras. I've had dealings with the lights. I've had I've seen a couple what I would call UFOs. I've had a couple ghost adventures. We'll say. Not something I really look into a lot. But if it happens, it happens, and it happened a couple times. So I'm a believer. It's hard for me not to believe people. I know there's people that get out there and they either take something small and make it way bigger than it is, or they take nothing and make it something. You're just gonna have that. It aggravates me as much as it does everybody else. But for the most part, people, if they tell me they saw something, I try to go with believing everything that they say. Of course, factoring out other things, who they are and how they tell you, so forth, just like anybody else would. But it's hard for me to discredit a lot of things, just because I haven't seen it, so to speak.
And speaking of Carrie, we want to thank Carrie Arnold from Bigfoot Odyssey for showing us some love. And I know everybody on here just waits in anticipation for all of Carrie's shows. You know, the Researchers Report, Late Night, and all of his episodes. And so it's really exciting to think about Carrie putting this documentary together. And Hilton has a question, and I'm just going to let y'all guys talk about this. He says, "What's the biggest prank you guys have pulled on each other out in the bush?"
Well, we usually joke around the campfire, but whenever we're out in the field doing research, we make it a point not to kid or throw each other off with some junk. You know, one thing we're not going to do is hoax any evidence. We're not going to hoax a sighting, any of that junk. Whenever we're out in the field, we're pretty serious about it. We may make some verbal jokes and jousting at each other here or there, but whenever it comes to the subject, that's off limits. But whenever we get back to the campfire, that's whenever the volleys of jokes and aggravation and all that goes. So I don't know that we've ever really pulled a prank on each other, really.
No,
Not that I can think of.
I kind of mentioned it a minute ago about the joking while we're out. One time, this wasn't the first time, one of the second, third, fourth, I can't remember what times that I was with y'all. Me and another guy that I was researching with, we kind of joke around from time to time. And I don't remember if I threw the rock or if he threw the rock down, you know, kind of out to the side of somebody. It wouldn't, you know, the only thing it would do was startle you, make you jump. But and I don't remember which one of y'all said it. And I think y'all were both there and y'all both chimed in before it was over with. But y'all let me know real quick. That's just, you know, you just don't do that because what if something really is happening, but they think you're joking? And that, of course, it made all sense, you know. And I love to laugh, but that made so much sense to me that I've never have thought. So we really don't out anywhere. You know, I might say something, Larry might say something that's funny, but as far as pulling something on anybody, we really don't. We're not even around the campfire. You know, even that is more just the verbal going back and forth. But especially out in the field, you don't want to think that somebody's joking or not joking and have it wrong. Depending on the situation. And I've always remembered, that y'all corrected me on that. And I don't think I've ever done it since, to be honest. It made all the sense in the world to me. Hadn't thought about it up to that point. It's one of those things that you, over progression of time of doing this, you just learn things. You learn, it's what keeps people in it, I think. Although, we look up at the end of the day, just like Dan says, I feel like I'm dumber now than I was when I first started looking into it. You just learn so much more about it, and it leads to so many more questions. But back on the joking, we really haven't done anything, out in the field. I don't really, other than, just talking back and forth, I don't remember really any good things that have happened around the campfire as far as pulling something on people. I'm sure we've probably done a couple things, but I can't think of that at the moment.
Yeah, I honestly can't think of anything either. Mark may be able to.
Well, I was just going to change the subject just for a minute, and about the Reed Noble trackway. You were there, and you went back and the last morning, and you had found another track, and you cast that track. Now, you had something happen to you when you went back looking for that track. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Sure. It was a track actually that they just decided not to cast it. Not that it was a bad decision or anything such as that. I probably would have, chose the other ones that they cast first. They just happened to have some cast enough. Well, no, I'll take it back. I did. Debbie when he bought, I think, all the plaster repairs they had in that little town. But
Yeah.
and they came back, but they at first, I never was into footprint. I just never really cared about footprints, to be honest with you. I liked looking at them on, somebody's video that said other, but as far as casting one, that never appealed to me. Never really saw, I understood why people did it, but just never appeared anything I wanted to do. But at that point in time, it was this cast, I think it was found before most folks even got there. I think we spent 2 or 3 days just sitting around wondering if is it really there? Because it was just so awesome to look at the different footprints and so forth. But I casted the print the day before the last day, late in the day. I think it may have been the last morning. Mine didn't set up as long as everybody else's. I kind of let them do their thing because it was really their work area. They found it. Let them do their thing as best they can, help where I could, and in the meantime, I just decided hey, I'll try it. So I cast it. It happened. It came out. It stayed together. Thank goodness. I was so worried about it breaking apart. But the morning it may have been after lunch that I was going to eventually, I knew eventually I was going to have to go get the cast because we're all leaving that day. So I'm trying to let it sit there as long as I can. And I eventually ended up taking the dirt under the cast and the cast just to let it sit up that much longer. But as I was going back over, I kept going back and forth that morning with a bunch of people. And a couple of times I went by myself and I happened to walk out this little clearing, and I don't know why it appeared, dawned on me. I guess because every time I walked out there, I was thinking, try to be as quiet as you can. You never know what you'll see. This time I had come through everywhere and I had, hadn't made a sound. I come out, to the clearing to look across this little bay at where the cast was. The way the sun, was, which is directly in front of me, and way everything was set up, it just wasn't a clear shot where a lot of detail showed out. But there is something running up that hill on all fours that I'll believe to the day I die that it was a Bigfoot. I don't know what else it could have been. There was some other things that were moving off to the right of it, maybe up the hill a little bit. I don't know why I remember that, but I don't remember what it was. I couldn't tell you what it was. I just remember seeing movement, but when it made that first stride and its arms came out, I was just transfixed because the arms were. It was almost cartoonish. They shouldn't have been that long. It's what the first thought that I had. And it's looking straight at me, and it goes up the hill, and off, and it's gone. And I'll admit, I turned around and walked back to camp at first, and then I'm like, great, I got this cast out there that is sitting right there at the bottom of where I think I just saw a booger run up a hill here and land between the legs. I was like, if I don't get that cast, I'm not gonna like the comments that probably get said about me not going to get that cast. So I sat around and I think I even tried to get Townsend to go out there, but it's the last day. I know I can try to get Larry too, but Larry had been helping everybody else load up and everything, doing what he does, and he was tired. I knew he was tired. So I eventually had to just bail off and go back. And so I did. I got back out there. I ended up had to pretty much just get down in the mud and dig from up under the track. Somewhere I found a long cardboard box that I set it in. I taped the sides of it up where I had it was almost like a cast of the place you could take a cast up at, because I actually took however much, 6-8 inches of dirt under the cast and all around the cast, put it on the cardboard, put it in my truck, and drove that thing back to Mississippi and pulled it. Actually didn't probably break the cast out till 4 or 5 days later. I let it sit in the garage. It wasn't because I thought it needed to sit up any longer. Honestly, it was because I was just terrified that when I pulled it out, it was going to break. And I knew if it did, I was just going to be mortified. I say all that, just saying that about the prints, never cared about them. Until you cast one, I don't know, it was something about the casting. I have it right here. I don't know how many people have actually seen this, but until you cast one, it's hard not to. Maybe it's hard not to see the appreciation in it, but I don't know if everybody can see. Everybody can see. Maybe just come back. But that's basically it. I think this foot, if I'm not mistaken, this foot was cast. Somebody else has the same foot cast. Not from the same actual print that was left, but I think a different print, if I'm remembering that right. But that is basically it. It's got one little, it does have kind of trying to show right there, you can kind of see where it's raised up. It was a air pocket that actually I think a mussel had been in, which is why they were out there to begin with. I actually brought one of those home and kept the shell, got it in a plastic bag back where I used to keep the cast at, which I didn't get it out though, but that's kind of a little buggered up mark that it did get right here, but that was it. And I'll be honest with you, I was hooked. Show me a print, I'm gonna cast it now. I got lucky with it. I mean, it's a great, especially and I don't know if seeing it on camera is doing it justice, but it's a great print. The toes on it, I mean, they're gone. It's like two marshmallows stacked on top of each other. They're huge. Two of the bigger marshmallows stacked on top of each other to make up one of the smaller toes. That's something that's just, it was one of the things, being at an outing and things happened and ended up, making that print. I'm so thankful that they found the trackway. Thankful that the print got home and we still have it. I was going to get them to sign it. To be, in all honesty, next time I saw both of them, I wanted them to sign the other side. But that it stays. That's not. It stays under wraps here. It's usually wrapped in 2 towels put up on in the spare bedroom where nobody goes home, because I don't. I would. I'm the one that would get busy talking, doing stuff, and break the darn thing. So I very seldom pull it out. Actually, being wrapped up, that's probably, I don't know how many months ago that is. It's probably the 3rd time I've unwrapped it since I finally took it out, washed it off, and then wrapped it up. I think it was just the next day is when I wrapped it up and put it up. I think I brought it out 3 times. But like I said, it's only because I don't want to break it, so forth. I don't, I've only got one right now. We hope to get some more. Earlier you also mentioned when we were talking about Kerry. I guess that's something that I can say too, is that I did talk with him, and I am going on the next expedition. I thank him from the bottom of my heart for letting me go once again. Had one heck of a time. Actually, both times, even the time that was all messed up, I still love meeting everybody. But we will be back in November. I hope both of y'all can. I know y'all are both kind of up in the air about it at the moment, but I hope y'all both can get things to the situation where y'all can go. Because I'd love for y'all to be there. But that's the print, the track.
That's it.
Well, Andy just asked, have you measured it? How long and how wide is it?
Yes, Andy. Thank you. I'm kidding when I say that. Thank you for making my memory fail me at the moment. I'm thinking it was 16, 17 inches long. I've got a picture. I wear a size 13, and I've got a picture of a 13 hiking boot beside of it, and it's just, the print is just enormous. I mean, it's probably 3 of that hiking boot. It's just, but I think it was 16 and around 7.5. No, maybe around 6.
Well,
6. The heel width is leaving me, but I believe it's about 17 inches long. And I forget the 2 widths. I need to write that down probably on the other side of it. So I don't get it, but I did measure it, right at first. And the fact that I don't pull it out more than I do is probably why I don't know that. So I apologize to Andy for not knowing the exact length and width of it. But it's a good 17.
It was 14 and a half.
Yeah. It was 14 and a half.
Yeah, because, the width was like 8 inches at the toe, below the toes, and 6 at the ball of the foot, I think.
I forgot that we.
But I got a picture of the print with a tape on it. It's the only reason I remember. But what took me about that print, I've seen prints out in the woods and everything, and most of them aren't much bigger than a human footprint. And whenever I walked up and saw these, like you're saying, Barry, it wasn't 14 and a half, still huge to us, but it's not unreachable for a man to have that big of a foot. But the width of it and the toes on it were so big and they were so perfect. I was like, this is crazy. It just shakes your whole mindset, because most of them I've seen have not been much wider than a normal person, but this one was big.
And you also got to think, this is a bare foot. It's not a shoe that is longer than your foot. And so that you can actually see the diameter and the depth that the toes left. And we also want to thank the Ozark Kid and Bobby Yance for showing us some love.
Big John.
And Big John was there. And
I met him. Good guy.
If you have questions, just put them in all caps, and I will try to catch them and throw them up. And Larry, do you have any questions for Larry? For Barry?
For Barry?
Yeah. Ask yourself a question, Larry, and answer it.
Well, Larry,
be careful.
Barry, what is one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about Bigfoot that you think the opposite of? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Good question. Not an easy one to answer. Good question. I don't know if this answer is what you want, but it's the first thing that popped in my head.
No, that ain't it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'll shut up, put the print up here, and I'll just leave. It seems like a lot of folks fall into they're all good, they're all bad. They're all good, they're all bad.
Yeah.
If they're not all good or all bad, they got one foot in that, and the other one's getting close. It's the misconception of that they're either this or that they're not. I think a lot of times, there's a lot of times, people have probably been looking for them. We've probably even done this, looking for them, and they've been right there. But if they don't decide to pop it, to snap a limb, a tree, if they don't decide to vocalize, you don't know it. But it's the them being all good and all bad. It's just a different, when you hit them, the circumstances. I mean, you know, I go on the down the road of the DNA study that says they're half human. I don't know what else they're mixed with, just like they don't. But and being that, and being the fact that that I believe they're half human, you get the onset of emotions, that you same emotions you would get from different people. It just depends on when you're around them, is, you know, how they're going to act. What you don't know until you really, that's the key, is you just don't know. So don't go into it, you know, thinking that they're all good and get in a position that you can't get out of. Because most folks who think that they're all good are usually the ones, a lot of times, that are out there, maybe sometimes by themselves, and unarmed, that they might not should be. I mean, I give them all the credit in the world for being brave, but, you know, you just don't know. You just don't know.
Right.
But they're not all good. They're not all bad. It's just a wide variety of things. And just because you did not hear them, a lot of folks get into the calls, and, you know, and I love making calls just like anybody else would. But I mean, how many times do you think? I mean, there's no telling how many times we've made calls and they've heard it. They just decided not to respond.
Yeah.
They knew better, because you're really just tricking them with the call anyway. You know, they're not, you know, usually once you call and get a response, it's like, you know, a lot of times it's hard to get a second one. You know, a lot of folks do that, you know, kind of maybe visit the same areas, and kind of get them conditioned to them and doing some calls. But for the most part, they could, you know, they don't always answer you. And I can't speak for a lot of the country, but I know for a fact down here, they're a lot closer to your cities and towns than you think they are. They're in a lot of towns, smaller towns, at night and so forth. There's just too much. There's too much for them to eat, you know. We have here where I live in central Mississippi, I'm a mile from the Natchez Trace. We have 3 schools that were built in towns. I'm right outside the capital of Jackson in Clinton, but we have 3 huge schools that were built, all basically back up to the Natchez Trace with dumpsters. Little things like that. I guarantee they're taking advantage of that. Well, I mean, the only way they can take advantage of it is be in the city limits, you know, even though it's right on the edge of the city limits. But just from some audio that's been captured and I've heard, and just from some other things, they're right up on us a lot more than we think. You don't have to go into the middle of nowhere to run up on them, so to speak. Down here, they seem to be just about anywhere. Up in the Delta, you get a lot of the Delta that they seem not to be in so much. But you know, the cover up there is just not. There's not much to it other than the creeks.
Let's see. Mighty American asked a question, and I think we know the answer, but you may want to elaborate on it. Have you ever seen orbs?
Yes, orbs are real. As bad as Russell's trying to debunk them. I'm just picking on Russell, and I'm picking on Russell when I say that.
But you know,
I don't want him to be debunked. I wholeheartedly support him for trying to debunk him. You know, because I know we're gonna know how much effort was put into trying to debunk him. You know, once.
All right. So since you saw him and he couldn't debunk them, what do you think they may be? And don't say from the Halloween movie.
Honestly, I have no idea. I've looked into it since we've gotten back. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there on what they could be fairies. I mean, I can't say that that the lights or what we saw came from a Bigfoot. I can tell you that right where that light was traveling for 4 nights, right in the same area, I had a sighting of a Bigfoot with another person that was caught on video. So it's hard to not think that they're not related in some way. But
have you seen this video? Huh?
Since we took
Barry,
it, no, I haven't seen it. I have not seen it since we took it. Since he took it.
Okay.
I think I saw a still shot from it afterwards, but I don't know if I haven't seen the whole video. That was a day in itself there.
Well, I don't know whether they're related or not. And I try not to form opinions on things that are not direct evidence.
Mm-hmm.
But, if we see them and we're curious about them, maybe the Bigfoot that see them are curious about them, and it draws them in too to see what these lights are in the woods.
Right. Or maybe that the area that the lights are in, the Bigfoot are attracted to.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just another piece of the puzzle now that, I walk around thinking about it for so many minutes every day. Because once I see something like that, it's, it kills me. Jimmy Barr, who we were on the expedition with, messaged me earlier this week asking a couple of questions because they were going back this weekend. It was hard for me not to hang up, to send a message and sit down and start planning how I was going to get there. Because I just wanted to go. I wanted to go. I was there. I saw them. I wanted to, I want to go back. They're fascinating. If you'd have told me anytime previous in my life that something like that was going to do what it did, I don't know if I'd have laughed at you, but I probably would have smiled saying, well, I hope it does, but I don't believe it ever will. But some of the things that especially the last night, kind of debunked it in my head enough. I think now the only thing we're down to is maybe car lights coming from, and it would have to be the dirt road right that led up to it. There's just not that many cars out there. There wasn't another car probably passed there the whole time we were there. Anytime we were there. At nighttime, it may have been one in the daytime, but like I said, I'm glad Russell is trying to debunk it. He's close to him. He's closer. He can now that he's in Florida, he can see them and so forth a lot easier and quicker than I can. I can't wait to go back in November.
I really appreciate that about Russell, because so many people that dip their toe in this Bigfoot subject, they want to throw everything in the Bigfoot box. And he is so dedicated with trying to eliminate anything that it could possibly be. And I think what it's going to take a team actually heading into the woods. And we pulled it up on Google Maps, and that road is probably 4 miles away. That small, and it's so thick in there. And I keep thinking, if it was car lights that we were seeing, it was just a single light that was changing colors and moving sideways and up and down. Why were the trees not blocking the this light that's moving sideways and up and down. And we also threw the thermals on it and got no heat signature off from it. And anytime that you throw a thermal on a vehicle, that vehicle could have been driven 2 hours ago. The engine's still going to light up, the brakes on it, the hood on it, and you'll be able to tell that it's a vehicle.
And what vehicle with the headlights pointing forward moves sideways?
Yeah.
Can you tell me that? None of them.
Well, I think
you got to think too that the times that where the light, it was constantly there, so that those headlights have to be on that road constantly in some form or fashion. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They would have to be on the road constantly, which would be impossible. I didn't know exactly how far away.
Next weekend, both of y'all are going to hear a story about an orb that's going to correlate with y'all's from a guy. And there ain't much debunking to it. Well, there'll be two people there with good light stories. One you've heard, the other one you haven't heard because it just happened within the last couple of years.
Cool.
Well, I know me and Larry have traveled around looking for orbs, especially down in northern Georgia and in the Appalachians, and that was the last thing that I was expecting to see in Florida were these lights.
That just proves it's me.
Yeah.
I
You're the
repel
jinx.
Everything.
That's why you don't get invited to half the outings, Larry.
Hey, that's all right.
I hated that night. We were live and talking to Larry. I could hear in his voice how bad he wanted, and I wanted him there that bad too. But
yeah,
hopefully y'all can both make the next. Get things together to make the next.
We can if you move it back a week.
Well, if I could move it back a week,
I'll just go the week before.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I have a whole lot more problems on my hands because that means my name would be Kerry Arnold. And I'm telling you, hats off to the man because this has been no easy anything to do. I was amazed at what we came away with this time. I really was. And I'll be honest, the week started slow for me. It just didn't. Nothing was. I just couldn't. It's like I couldn't get the feel of it. Of like really being up in there investigating. Although I was, nothing was happening. And then the lights started, and then I'd go out there to show Zasky where the lights were, and then we have a sighting. And one thing I want to say about that sighting too. After the fact that you can't help but just replay it in your mind every so often. And something that I messed up on that day, but this is earlier it made me think of it when I was talking about when you're a researcher, and I hate that term, I can't believe I just used it, but I did. Write it down because I hope I don't use it again. But when you look into this, you just progress at different rates, depending on what, who, and whatever else factors into it. But when we had that sighting, we both locked on to that booger. 5.5, 6 foot tall. We're looking at it through a pretty good bit of brush. He goes around to the side to go see it to get a better view. Don't remember if it was him stepping on something or just the fact of me wanting to go that way with him, but it doesn't matter. Regardless, I looked away for a millisecond. Look back, it's gone. Had to do over, I would not have looked away because if I wouldn't have looked away, it was eventually going to have to make a decision. This, I got this, this thing coming, talking about Zasky coming at me from would have been his right, and I'm locked on to another human right here in front of him. He was going to have to make a call, I would be very interested to see what would have happened. And this is what is just superhuman to me about him. To be able to sit there locked on to me and all I have to do is look away, look back, and you have the wherewithal to not only make the decision and I'll always believe it hit the ground. I mean, it didn't disappear, it didn't whatever. It hit the ground. It had to. It just went straight down. But to be able to do it that fast, when somebody just looks away and looks back, we can't do that. That's just another one of the fascinating things that just keeps you coming back. I don't know how it did it, how it hit the ground that fast, but I wouldn't have looked away. I would have just kept my eyes locked on it. But at the time, I was not thinking about it in that way. I think if it happened again tomorrow or 10 years from now, that's probably the first thing if there's two people there and I'm locked onto it and it's looking at me, it's the first thing I want to remember is do not take your eyes off, because as soon as you do, it's, and Mark was going on around the way where I don't know if he could see it at the moment. As a matter of fact, I know he couldn't. He couldn't see it as he was going around. He was just trying to get around there, to the exact area that it was. And it wasn't 20 yards, and I would guess 12 to 15 probably away from us. It's just there was a lot of the grass wasn't affecting our eyesight, but then there was a little thicket right there, some brush trees, small trees, and it was behind that. But that area is it's like that, it's like the area we were talking about in Texas earlier. It'll always have that mystique about it. Because so many things have happened right there in that little area. And plus just to go there, it's a beautiful, on top of everything, it's just aesthetically beautiful. It's the way the palm trees are and the water oaks or the oak trees. And some of those hundreds of years, they have to be over 100 years old, just to look at the limbs and stuff on them and see how big they are. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else about the sighting. That was I hated I looked away, to make a long story short, which is probably impossible now. But I hated I looked away. But that's one of the things, I self-taught myself that day, whether I realized it or not. I get home thinking about it, you can't help but think about it. And then it dawned on me, why, if I just wouldn't have looked away, Zatsky probably already thought about that, thank God he didn't say, I'm glad he didn't say anything, because at the time, but I think he was so excited that it happened like it did too. I'll tell you something else I learned that day. If you're we almost didn't get that on video, because we just weren't there at that point in time, we weren't Bigfooting, so to speak. We went to pick up some things that had been left there, doing a tent where we had, set up a fake campground. And I just, hey, you want to go see where we saw that? Yeah. We had talked about earlier in the day. And, we just, one thing led to another. He makes a comment about how the soil is so different where we're at right there, because most of the soil there is very sandy. It's very hard to get a good print. Because of the soil, the toes just aren't going to hold together and so forth. But, and then we look up, and it's right at the minute. I mean, I can remember his arm raising, and I'm thinking, there's a silhouette right there. What did we noticed it right at the same time. And we're literally having a conversation about it. And he's like, we ain't got nothing to record with. I don't remember what I said, probably something I don't need to say now. Since we're G-rated, but and then he remembers just happens to remember his phone. Pulling. I'm literally ducking, like kneeling down halfway in a squat with Zatsky over my head with a cell phone video. It's not always scientific, it's sometimes it's just spur of the moment, and you get what you just do the best you can. But that's just another thing I taught myself, as far as I've always known not to look away from, especially if you're by yourself. We know you learn that way early on in this looking into the subject. But there was somebody else and everything going on. Just didn't think about it. I hate I looked away. But
how tall was it? How tall was it?
5.5, 6 foot. I'm guessing. It wasn't huge. It wasn't. It wasn't. physically imposing. Just we walk, we had been on the other side of this little area with Carrie and a couple other people. I know Jimmy was there. Can't remember who else. We just happened to walk over there, so I don't know if we caught off guard. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have a feeling we kind of did. I think kind of got lulled to sleep us being over there for about 10 or 15 minutes. But I ended up walking. We went out and tried to get some more footage, just basic footage of just for Carrie to add in. And if you needed to, of just the scenery and stuff. The next, maybe one of the last days. Lynn Parsons and myself went up there and we walked back up. We would have been coming in like where it was looking at us, we would have been coming in behind where it was at. And it got pretty intense. I mean, just intense, and the only reason because just the feelings and so forth that I was feeling at the moment. I just didn't feel like we were probably in a good place. Didn't really need to be there. That's also where we found the piece of wood that was wedged up in the tree, like someone just been sitting on it. Who knows? I don't see why a person would have done that, but I can't say what did it. Leave that to everybody's imagination.
Well, what you talking about? A piece of wood wedged in a tree to set?
There was a piece of plywood that 2 foot by 2 foot. That Lynn walked right up under it. She's taking pictures. She's doing and I don't know why. Just lucky for no other reason. I just happened to look up. And I'm like, what's that piece of plywood just sitting? And it's not a new piece of plywood. It's an older piece of plywood. Maybe a foot and a half.
It wasn't a deer stand.
And it is sitting. It's sitting on the limb of a tree. Sitting
Mark,
there.
you can
almost like you could almost see something was like when it saw the plywood. It's like, what? If I put that there where I sit in that tree, I bet my butt wouldn't hurt so bad. And just took it and put it up there. That's exactly what it looked like. You just normally you would have thought maybe a human did it.
It didn't appear to be a deer stand.
No, because that would have been a no hunting area because it was
that's the best place to hunt. What do you mean?
That's how you got ticketed, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Well, I can tell you this right now. Y'all should have took that piece of plywood down because it's worth about $100.
Plus, it was a little. Like I said, it was a little square. Obviously, just found somewhere, but and plus, it was actually the way it was positioned. I believe you would have been sitting looking directly back at that road too, on the deer stand. You wouldn't set up a deer stand to be pointed directly back at the road. Like that, I wouldn't think. I'm not a big deer hunter. But.
I used to be. Then I got a girlfriend in Texas, and I don't get to go much anymore. I'm always on the road.
Oh man! Woe is Larry.
It's all good.
I know.
Mark, won't you ask that next question? Don't say I don't guess there's any more. You missed 40.
It's hard to keep up with, Larry.
Yeah, the chat is moving on tonight.
That's a game I usually play when I'm in the chat, seeing how many questions Mark missed. I'm picking with you, right? And I'm really not picking. I really do that, but I'm not. I'm just joking. Because it is hard. That chat does go by fast.
I've been investing in Doge cryptocurrency. I should have been investing in plywood and stuff and make a whole lot more profit on that.
Well, Larry, if you remember that question, why don't you ask it?
Well, it was 8 miles back up there.
I know it. I can't go back that far. I just went.
If y'all have any questions, please repost them. While Bradley is looking up Friday the 13th on YouTube for the Get Out message.
Bradley. I'm glad I met that boy.
I'm gonna
Now-
send him a link later. Go ahead, Mark.
One thing that I appreciate about Barry is that he is constantly searching. And it's just like he said, he only lives a mile away from the Natchez Trace. And that is a fantastic road to go up and look for signs off the side of the road. And I think that's a great strategy that any of us can use, that while we're driving, that we're constantly scanning back and forth and looking for anything that may not look natural.
I've done a lot, y'all. Especially when I was first getting into it, I did a lot. People talk about armchair researchers. I was the front seat of a Toyota Tacoma researcher. I've ridden. There's no telling how many miles I've ridden in that truck. Just looking. Just riding and looking. Just trying to discover. And figure out things, but it's I've always liked just getting in the vehicle and riding, so it just kind of fit in with everything else. But yes, being so close to the Trace is it's a blessing. I'll just put it that way. I really enjoy it. The people that don't know, for the most part of it, when you get closer to some cities, you have some lights and so forth. But if you're in between towns, and sometimes that could 40, 50 miles, you won't have a single light. You're not going to pass the street light. You go out there after 10 o'clock at night, you're not going to, if something happens to you and you have a phone to get to call 911, they're going to, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to wake somebody up to come to you from the Natchez Trace. They're actual police. You're going to get somebody else respond in a county or a city close by. But at nighttime, there's because of funding and so forth, there's there's not any police on it at night, which honestly I think even helps keep down. A lot of folks already know that and going into it, and I don't think they want to break down on the road like that. So I will say this: during COVID, I'm not one that really trying to think of the right way to say this. I'm not one that really likes to follow a lot of rules. Sometimes, from time to time, I follow the ones that get you in bad trouble. But some of the others, I like to break. But during COVID, that was one thing I was really enjoying doing was getting on the Trace at night, because it was even more. Literally ride for 2 hours in one direction and not see a car, nothing. It makes for some interesting nights. It also makes for some nervous nights too, because sometimes your brain will, it'll play tricks on you. You'll just start thinking about things that could go wrong. Realize where you're at and how far away somebody is. But it's a definite asset, especially doing this in this part of the country. It really is. I'm not the only one. Lord knows there's been so many things that have happened up and down the Trace from a lot of folks that we know.
All right, Barry. Do you think that one of these needs to be killed to prove their existence?
No, because I don't think if you killed it, it's going to prove their existence.
You don't?
No, because I think they're going to get to the body before you're ever going to get a chance to really get it out to a mass amount of people.
So you're a conspiracy theorist?
They've been throwing that word around. We're supposed to feel bad. Not that you meant it in a bad way. I'm not saying that. But we're supposed to feel bad when they say that. I'm just not going to feel bad about it.
Well, maybe I should have said, you believe that the government is covering this subject up. How about that?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. That, yeah. they're not gonna come out and admit it, because they come out and admit it, they're gonna have to admit they lied about it. They're not gonna admit they lied to you, because then everybody's asking, well, what about everything else? I mean, there's so many reasons that it's not gonna come out. About every reason you've ever heard somebody say, it's a good reason. There's not one reason. There is a multitude of reasons that they're just gonna keep covering it up. I think we had this. I don't remember if it was when we were in Florida, but if you were to get a body, cut off an arm of it, just so to speak, come out of the woods, go straight to a TV station. Let's just say you walk in right as 5 o'clock news is started, and they actually put it on the air. They're gonna come get that. You're not gonna be able to show it anywhere else. And the amount of people that see it from that one local newscast is not going to change the world's mind about it. To me, it's been proven. There's enough evidence out there that proves it. Look at what did I read the other day? Russia, France, and Germany, I think, all put it on an endangered species list in the 60s. I mean, you don't put something that's not real on an endangered species list. Regardless of the politics that you think about the different countries or whatnot. To me, it's been proven they're just not going to admit it. They're not going to, you're not going to have a news conference, Bigfoot is real. It's never going to happen. At the best, you may have something that gets out there, and just slowly, steadily just convinces more and more people. But I just don't ever see them admitting to it, because the biggest reason for me is because then I don't think they could hide the fact that they've been covered it up. They don't want to get into those questions, I don't think. And who knows? I mean, we still don't know what it is. There's probably a lot of reasons we're not even aware of why they don't want to, even let it out. But I just don't see it happen. I wish, it'd be fine with me. I hate people like Carrie that go through those ordeals. I said it one time down there when he was interviewing me for something while we were down there. I hate I put it this way, because he was just sitting right there. But to me, it was just cruel to go into the woods and be told something is not real, and then something like that happen to you. It's on the cruel side to me, because of what it does to people. If people, then those really are the ones that, if you really pay attention, the ones that really have a hard time with what they saw are the ones that either they didn't believe it was real, or it's something that's in the Northeast or Northwest, maybe.
All right. Barry?
Yes, sir.
Joe Parker wants to know, what was your first encounter? Do you remember your first encounter?
Yeah. The first one I really just saw and think that's what it was and so forth would have been the one crossing the road before the outing. And something I didn't say at the time when I talked about this a second ago, it's not something I didn't bust up. Y'all know, I didn't bust up in the camp talking about seeing a Bigfoot. I'm going to Bigfoot outing, and I'm still worried about walking in and telling somebody what I saw and what they're going to think about it. Yeah. And plus, honestly, when I've seen them, I haven't told a bunch of people first. It's almost like I have to kind of process it a little bit. It felt very weird telling people after what me and Zasky saw that we saw that, just, an hour or two later. I remember thinking that usually I've got time to just kind of think about this and process it before I really say anything. What happened to me in Land Between the Lakes? I didn't
say nothing.
I didn't say anything. I'm weird like that sometimes. I'll admit it. But I didn't.
Because
I did tell Larry that he would come with me, but he had literally been helping everybody that had left out that day load their vehicles up.
And I thought you were joking.
I know. And I knew you did when I told you, and I knew I wasn't anything else. And I knew at that time there wasn't anything I was going to say that was going to change your mind on that, plus you being tired. And I also knew it's just, it was sometimes there's that point in time where you just know you got to do what you got to do. And at that point in time, I knew I had to go ring it at print. get cast, whatever you want to call it. But
Well, I waited on you.
you did. I mean, when I didn't get, it wasn't like I walked off into the wilderness 15 miles and anything like that. I was just away from everybody when I was out of the bay. But yeah, and yes, you did wait for me, Larry, and I appreciate that wholeheartedly. I was so thankful when I got back. I mean, I could hear them behind me when I was digging the track up. There was little, I mean, I don't remember per se what, but I could hear things hitting around me from time to time, and I could just hear commotion, above me. They weren't happy above me on that hill. That's the same hill that me and I can't think of who it was. We'd walked all up and down that hill.
Scott.
We were really looking for a pile of mussel shells, thinking that they probably took a bunch out of there and went up there, sat down somewhere, and ate them. I mean, we never could find them, but we definitely looked.
Guys, we are just about out of time. I cannot believe that we are an hour and 45 minutes deep into this. And it's been such great dialogue. Everybody in chat that's been asking questions, even the questions that I've missed. And but it's just been a great show, and it's great to have a friend to come on here, someone that we respect, and someone that Larry and I both have seen grow over the past years. But Barry, we would like to give you this opportunity to give us any final thoughts that you might have.
Well, first off, thanks for the kind of words. I know the other night when I was on with Bradley, you said a bunch of things, and I think I sat here shell shocked. Not that I didn't think you thought that, but it just kind of surprised me at the time. And but thank you for your kind words. Y'all are, two of the definite best people and most important people that I've met since I've been doing this. So glad to, like if I never go Bigfooting again, I'm just glad the people that I met and the friendships that I've made. And that's maybe my final thought is that if there's anybody, I know, sometimes I wonder, you see the people in chat and you're like, how many people aren't in chat that we don't even know their name, or the other name that they go by or whatever. They're just sitting there, taking things in. I wonder how many of them are newer or just getting into the subject. It hasn't let me down since I've been looking into it. Yeah, you're going to get in some dangerous situations. You're going to get, you're going to get some situations sometimes that you really just like, I don't know if I want to be back in that situation again. But if you're thinking about getting into it, I wholeheartedly, just go at it at your pace, get into it, do it. I love being outside. I love the camping aspect of it. I hope to be able to do a lot more of it lately. I've got a little bit more financial freedom now that's going to enable me to do that with equipment and so forth. So, but that would be my only thing I really have for anybody was if it's interested, you get out there and do it. You don't have to go into the middle of the national forest and walk 2 miles off the road somewhere to say that you're looking into this subject. There's a lot of different things you can do, depending on what you want to do, what you can do physically and so forth. But at the end of the day, I'm thankful I had it. There's some times in my life where Lord knows I needed to put my mind into something such as this, and it was there for me, and I'm glad it was. But that probably the only thing I would really want to leave with is that if you want to do this, if you're thinking about doing it, just go do it. You can go as fast or as slow as you want. You just got to, a lot of times just getting started is the hardest part. So if you want to, look into it, do it. If I can help you in any kind of way, they can I'm on Facebook. They can, get in touch with me. And I'll help answer questions. Whatever, spread whatever little knowledge I have. Would be glad to do that. I just the more people that do get into it, if they ever did announce that it was real, it's just that's going to help. It's just the more and more people that are doing it. So it's a win-win for everybody. But that would probably be about it.
Larry, do you have any final thoughts?
Well, we're 1 week away from sharing another campfire with Barry, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
We've known him for what, 4 to 5 years now, and every time we're together, we always have some good laughs and good times, and we've had some pretty good encounters whenever we've been out. So I look for that to continue, and can't wait till the next one, Barry.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Barry, we want to ask you to stay backstage as we go into the outro, but I'm going to put you on the spot. And I would like for you to make that noise that Jeff Townsend made at camp whenever. Get you a good drink. You're going to need a good drink to do this.
I'm going to need some Mountain Dew for
this one. And as we go into our outro, if you would grace us with your Jeff Townsend impression.
When I thought he was dying.
Yeah.
And y'all, it went on for, it felt like, 35 seconds. I love you, Jeff Townsend. You know that.
We do. We love us some Jeff Townsend. And we want to thank everybody again for helping to make Beast TV and Beast of the Woods a success. And we appreciate and love each and every one of y'all. So, night, footers. Beast TV would like to welcome all of our new Facebook members. Be sure to check out our pictures and videos of possible evidence. And if you haven't checked out the Files tab, there is a wealth of information that you may find beneficial. If you would like to support Beast TV, check out our gear. We have coffee mugs, face masks, gaiters, shirts, and tank tops. The link is pinned at the top of the comment section. Everything is always marked down 20%. So come check out our junk. We want to thank all of our new subscribers and our faithful followers. Also, be sure to check out our field evidence videos and our sister channel, Beast of the Woods. That's Larry's channel. If you want to help us out, make sure that you are subscribed. Click the thumbs up button, ring the bell, and leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you. Thanks again to each of you for watching, and we will see you again. Same bat time, same bat channel. Night, footers.
This has been a Sawdust production.